going to kick things off here, maybe with some intros from everyone before we dive in.
Hi, my name is Mikhail, and I'm original co-founder and inventor of Gearbox. We work to make a lending like a credit card experience using account abstraction and build real credit accounts on-chain.
I'm Wesso. I'm with Beefy. We're a leading cross-chain yield aggregator. We're now on 30 chains. We've been around for about 4 years.
Hi everyone, my name is Sergey Kunz. I'm co-founder of 1inch Network, software engineer, software architect. I and my co-founder back in 2019 invented DEX aggregation among distributed exchanges.
I'm Vikram. I'm one of the co-founders of Superform. We're a yield marketplace, so we work with protocols here to get them more users and distribution and just make DeFi easier and better to use.
Cool, thanks guys. And I'm Dimitri. I'm an investor at Coin Fund. We are a venture capital firm and hedge fund that often invests in projects like you guys. So yeah, kicking things off. I mean, the panel here is obviously about user engagement and what we can do with UX and UI and the challenges thereof. And so, kind of want to start things off by asking you guys, like, what do you think are the big innovations that the space has seen from a UX and UI perspective? And I guess, yeah, two sides of that. What are the big innovations, and then the pain points that you still see? Maybe we kick things off with you, Misha.
Yeah, I believe we made a huge step forward last year because today we definitely explain very good concepts. The first part, account abstraction, really became more and more popular, and it opens a huge opportunity for developers. And in Gearbox, we're building this on-chain credit inside account abstraction to really remove all barriers. Previously, I don't know who used DeFi previously, how many clicks you should do to achieve what you want. For example, get credit on Aave, make swap on Uniswap. Here, a lot of stuff. You should move funds, you should get ETH, etc. Now, luckily, we can do everything shorter, better, and cross-chain. So I think pretty soon we will get a lot of users and remove these barriers. Viso or Sergey, the next?
Oh, yeah. I agree with most of that. I think that the number one thing was the ability to actually bridge capital across chain. Actually, the increase of competition in the messaging protocol space as well. We're on 30 plus chains, and it's actually very cumbersome for people who want to manage positions across multiple blockchains. And actually, there's really cool stuff like Superform's doing, right? Like you're building on top of applications like us, making it easier for users to sort of all of that sort of abstracted away from them. So they don't really have to, ultimately at the end of the day, if we could be sort of chain agnostic and you can just as a user, look at, hey, this is the opportunity I want, and you don't have to really worry about what blockchain you exist on. I think that's the ideal experience. And so I think that now with the new messaging protocols, people building really useful UIs as a composable layer on top of other infrastructure products like us, I think that's really sort of where the market's going.
I would like to add, so what I recognize that we see more projects building based on intent-based architecture. So it means user is not taking care about how they want to achieve something. They just decide what they want and how it's going to be achieved. It's part of the protocol or the participants behind the protocol. So in our case, we introduced in December 2022 intent-based swaps, so the user don't need to do the transaction by themselves and face maybe sandwich attacks and front-running attacks by math bots. The execution moved to professional traders who are already experienced, use flash bots and other providers to protect themselves. So, and in cross-chain, we didn't find this somehow in a lot. I didn't see any protocols who try to build an intent-based manner. We try to change this with 1inch. So tomorrow, stay tuned, come to my keynote. So we introduced Fusion Plus, something new. It's kind of approach like you don't care about how it's going to be done, but you get what you want. So this is kind of new thing. In general, intent-based approach, it doesn't matter. Is it swap? Is it providing liquidity? Actually, CalSwap did this with the providing liquidity also in intent-based manner. I like it a lot because I was sandwiched at Uniswap multiple times, and I was very, very angry. So, and this is, it offers new user experience and almost the same user experience as you get it on centralized exchanges.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I think that intent-based architectures are the best way we have to scale what is currently the multi-chain experience, right? And the issue that we have right now is that our solutions to multi-chain are only going to work for really another couple of months until everyone has an app chain. All these app chain frameworks roll up as a service. Everyone is going to be creating one. We can now have a world where UX is fine in a 30-chain world, but when there are thousands, we aren't even close to prepared for that. And maybe if we can make a distinction between like multi-chain right now versus an actual like fully modular world, where even our biggest assumptions for the space are still going to be blown out of proportion. How do we figure out how to scale UX in that experience? Because I do think we have account abstraction, we have chain abstraction for 30 chains, but really, how do we figure this out in a modular future? And I think intent-based architectures are a great way forward so that we can actually properly get third parties, solvers, whoever else onboarded to make that happen.
So I'm actually kind of curious because it sounds like, Wezo and Vikram, you sort of alluded to some of these aspects in terms of improvements at the app layer, and then some of the other stuff is sort of improvements at the infra layer. So how do you guys think about for your respective projects, like, what do you think matters more at this stage? It seems, to your point, Wezo, we have, the generalized message passing protocols. We have a lot of guys who are sort of saying, look, I'll use existing cross-chain, agnostic infrastructure. And then there's, other projects, some of you guys on the stage here are doing this, that are just saying, look, we'll also just go multi-chain. So how do you think about that trade-off?
There's actually two problems, right? One is like, I don't know who's one on a DeFi app and just don't really understand how to use it. I think a lot of them are very complex. People focus a lot on the background technology. We have a lot of really smart people writing really complicated math products, creating really, really cool code bases. And at the infrastructure layer, it's growing and it's becoming pretty good. But like the actual like user experience, so when you're actually going on the actual application itself, is really kind of cumbersome. And a lot of times, like even as like a really advanced DeFi person, I get confused. Like, you access some of the applications. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Like, I don't get the data I really want. It's hard for me to like easily, move assets between one chain and another, or between one protocol and another. And so I think that there's two things that need to happen. One is that we have to continually improve the infrastructure. So, and NetBase is great for that, like all the things that you guys were sort of building. But at the same time, the very top level of the one that the users are interacting with, like how do we continue to like make that effect? How do we get people the proper data for analyzing the positions that they're in? How do we get people to like basically abstract away all of that, hey, complexity about like, what chains am I going to go through? How do I move my assets from one chain to another? I think even from like the fiat level, like how do we get make it easier for people to get money on and off chain? So all of that sort of needs to be improved as well. So it's really two things. It's both the like improving the infrastructure layer and then also improving the user experience at the app layer as well.
I think there are already some solutions for these problems, like how you buy crypto, or how you sell crypto easily. There are, for example, debit cards from Gnosis Pay, so and with good liquidity to Eurocoin. There are some solutions already. They are not the best. Sometimes it doesn't work. Also with the debit cards, crypto debit cards, but it works already. And regarding infrastructure, it's like chicken egg. If you're building user-centric product, you need infrastructure, yeah. And if you have no users, it doesn't matter what infrastructure you have, right?
But like, do you think like as 1inch, right? You're a tool that a lot of us use. Like, I mean, Beefy, we use you as a tool for what we need to get done. So do you think people should be really interacting with like your user interface, or do you want more people to be integrating 1inch as a tool in their systems and creating the user experience for themselves?
I see it like that. You need users to build infrastructure, proper infrastructure, because infrastructure you build only on demand. If it's necessary, if it's needed, then it's going to be optimized and built. In our case, we say we follow both ways. For me, it's important to have partners, and everyone out there, also our direct competitors like 0x, Paraswap, Uniswap, and so on, we are partners. Yeah, they onboard users, we onboard users, and we offer our infrastructure service to MetaMask, for example. And MetaMask is high available swap. Why? Because they use us and some other technology provider. So we do actually both. So also user interface and also infrastructure B2B business.
I think it's interesting to see how the cycle of apps and infra goes. And we had a bunch of protocols deploying on their own individual chains 3 years ago. That then spurred protocols like Layer 0, Wormhole, Axelar to go out and create these message passing layers that could then be used to combine them. And then you had apps like us that build on top of them. And then now we have intent layers to do what Superform can do even better by connecting party, peer-to-peer. And now the job, to go back to the original question of what is the job of the application versus the infra, it's that now I think the ball is in the app layer to actually build on top of this new infra that you guys are putting out. Because most of this new intent architecture is not something that has been properly integrated in a lot of apps right now. And I think we're going to see the hard part from an app level to actually do that is to show the trade-offs that are being undertaken by each one of these intent layers, right? And there are a couple, you have some people that you don't know who the solvers are, or it could be costing too much, or it could be slow, but just displaying those things to users so that they're aware. And I think that on an app level, the innovation that's needed is how do we actually properly simplify all of these decisions that a user has to make and still make this something fun for them to use. And yeah, I think apps can solve it in like all their own ways, but ultimately infrastructure, what you guys have put out there is something that we need to properly talk to you guys about to make sure that we're communicating that in the right way.
Absolutely, and I believe the biggest breakthrough here happened with account abstraction. Because literally before, when we think about front end, it was always something which front-enders do with CSS, HTML, sometimes with JavaScript, yeah? With account abstraction, we have another level when we can build very smart things and really abstract a lot of stuff related to gas, to make the credit things like computing collaterals, to do all this cross-chain stuff you mentioned, to really allow users do what they want and get what they want. And I believe the whole infrastructure, today we are not focusing how AWS works. When we need service, probably the AWS as a cloud computing do a lot of stuff like launching different instances, do a lot of complex stuff, but for end users, it's totally encapsulated.
Yeah, they
I
don't
just
care.
click a button and it works here. And the same we should build, but in decentralized way, it's much, much harder. And of course, now we have a tech-savvy users, and our goal is to really move all complexity related to DeFi usage, cross-chain, swaps, intents into somewhere in the middle and make a very clear interface which even child of 7 years could understand. And the magic happens in decentralized way.
How much of this do you think is something that can be solved on a wallet level versus something that apps are going to have to solve because not everybody's going to be using a smart contract wallet, right? And if someone wants to be using an EOA and still be taking that advanced functionality, how do you communicate to an app that they should still be building some of that functionality in?
I mean, would you swap on Uniswap's UI?
I haven't made a swap on Uniswap's UI in a long time, personally.
The real question is like a lot of these. But no,
Yeah.
okay. Now here's another question. Do you go right to 1inch or do you use like a aggregator of aggregators? You know what I'm saying?
I use 1inch because 1inch is the aggregator of aggregators,
But I guess that my point is that like if you're going to like Uniswap directly, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice, right? Because you're really only using one liquidity source. then you go to the aggregator and technically hey, I know we're developing and are getting better and better, but you're looking at one liquidity source or one quote through 1inch. So I think that's the problem. I think at the app level, we built something I think that is really cool and really easy to use for DeFi. And I think, we worked on making it easy to understand, but at the same time, is it going to be our responsibility in the future to be doing all of that? Or is there going to be somebody's whole responsibility of making a very clean to use and understanding and implementing all of these innovations on the infrastructure level? And their whole focus is building the user experience for people to easily understand from being 7 years old. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and another part which I also could find a good trend, especially with yield aggregators or in lending market, is to attracting risk curators. Because definitely when you go to the lending market, you should have a lot of time and expertise to understand, is it good to use this kind of token as collateral or not, how to compare different pretty complex systems which could use different tokens as collaterals, talk about liquidations, liquidity, etc. And it's really cool that professional players like risk curators, like market makers come and help users, and we can build brands or reputation upon it. If you are not a professional trader, you can trust 1inch to get the best price. You can trust Gearbox to get the best rate or interest rate or some risk curators, because of course, everyday user has not enough time and expertise to understand all potential risks there. And I think it also moves forward, not on technological part, but builds a brand and really builds the trust with end users through the branding.
Yeah, so this actually goes on to the next question I was going to ask you guys, because I think it's perfect. You've sort of all alluded to this in a slightly kind of different way, but it sounds to me like partnerships and collaborations with whether it's infrastructure layers or other apps or other, whether it's aggregators or, you guys interacting amongst yourselves. It seems to me like partnerships and collaborations are very important. So I'm kind of curious to hear from each of you guys in terms of your own projects, how partnerships and collaborations are actually improving things for users on, the user experience on your own projects. Like, how are you guys relying on partnerships to do that?
In every way. I think everybody here, actually, we were just discussing what we could do with the Gearbox, but I mean, we worked with 1inch forever. We've worked with Superform. I mean, every single thing that you guys build and the innovations that you create make all of our user experiences better. And so I think the reason we've been able to grow to how big we are has been all of our partnerships. And then also understanding the new technology, all the innovation that they're building, going to the partners, seeing how we're going to integrate that stuff, and being able to utilize it and then distribute it to our users.
I think the path to actual mass adoption is a really, really long journey. And if we look at the end of this, which is becoming better than TradFi, it's that all of us are going to have to do this stuff and take a part of the stack to make this happen. And, whether you're in the yield generation side or you're in the strategist side, or if you're going to focus on, distributing yield, or you're just going to focus directly on the user, I feel like all of these are massive, massive bits of the market that we're going to have protocols exclusively focus on. And we need each other to make that happen. Yeah.
In general, Web3 space is about collaboration, partnerships, and composability. So how we built first 1inch aggregator. We just used Banker, Kyber, and Uniswap, combined them, and on top of it, built own money Lego. Yeah. So in general, also, if I look to the competitors, direct competitors like Uniswap with Uniswap X and Matcha with 0x, I was speaking with Matcha yesterday as well, told them, guys, I love you. You're onboarding people in US. We are not active in US. We cannot, based on the regulatory environment, we cannot participate there right now. I told them, you're the best. You're doing actually our job, and you're doing it very well. You onboard, adapt, and you follow actually also intent-based approach, like Uniswap X, for example. And we are growing together the space, because if you look on the traditional finances and our DeFi is very, very small. Yeah.
Yeah, and Gearbox itself was built on idea of composability, and we just empower other protocols. So we could not really find the example in real market. Maybe, I don't know, it's how to build a bank who can provide credits, but there is nobody who want to get. You should some firms, and we just empower other protocols. So combining Gearbox's Uniswap, you get margin trading. Combining with LIDA, you can get leverage staking, etc., etc. So it's all time. And at my point, what is really significant in UX, we should definitely stop thinking about Web2 competition. It's the wrong way. Today, with account abstraction, with current composability and probably in cross-chain composability, we can allow users to get the application and get different parts wherever they want. If they want to swap on 1inch, it's totally fine. If they want to swap on another platform, it's totally fine. We have a common interfaces, and it's much better because when your lovely app for Web2 decide to change something, you have no power. And in Web3, we have great building blocks, and we can allow users to build what they want through these building blocks, use what they trust, what use they prefer in different values, and it's totally different experience. So I believe Ethereum itself and Web3 could be considered as one application when you just pick preferences like in restaurant, but the restaurant is still like is ecosystem or Web3 ecosystem. We do not compete, we just different options to serve the best. It's my perception.
So it sounds like, from what you guys are saying, you're all quite positive on at least a few of the sort of bottlenecks here, whether it's composability or, account abstraction, which you've talked about. Sergey, you've talked about, intent-based architecture. If I sort of flip the question the other way, what do you think are the unsolved issues today? Like, what do you see builders still not focusing on and perhaps still missing from kind of the perfect solution that you would envisage? Vikram, you want to start?
It's difficult to answer.
Okay.
Sure. Okay, I guess in the beginning I mentioned that it's a multi-chain world. We're okay, it's manageable to deal with. We're soon going to be in a world that is unmanageable. And I don't think that we've totally figured out how we're going to be managing interoperability broadly in a totally permissionlessly deployable roll-up kind of world. And
as in, you mean like the roll-ups aren't talking to each other?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Roll-ups talking to each other. And I mean, any of our protocols right now, it's like, I'm sure there are a lot of chains that are coming up that we'd like to be on, but they aren't the easiest things for us to participate in. And it's really like, how do we get interoperability to scale in that sense? I think we haven't figured that out. There's an emerging narrative around chain abstraction and how we can move some of this stuff to be done off-chain, solver, etc. I think we talked about that earlier. That's exciting. But yeah, how do we get interoperability to scale, I think, is still very much unsolved.
There is like people building like ZK technology as an AVS that is able to read state from different chains or even historical state from your contract level. So I mean that unlocks a whole lot of things because right now building like cross-chain, you can build cross-chain products, but building multi-chain products is near impossible. There's a lot of risk involved in it. Like you think like multi-chain lending. I don't think there's anybody who's really a successful use case of that yet. But the more we have that tooling available where you basically can access state from another chain instantly on a different chain, then all of a sudden it opens up the doors for all of these sort of like new innovations that you can sort of make. And I think actually that kind of technology can really abstract away chains because then you don't have to worry about certain things. You have all the data you sort of need. You don't have to rely on messaging protocols and waiting times to get there. So I think that's a really big unblock.
Please.
I just wanted to add, if I look from user-centric product, what is not solved yet is that we unify the experience in terms of blockchains. So users should not take care about, okay, what blockchain there is right now. Yeah, they should have like, okay, I have a wallet and I can be active on every blockchain. It can be Solana, it can be Near, it could be Ton, Ethereum, whatever. So this user experience we need to improve. I see already some nice movements from Uniswap as well. they started to unify the tokens. Yeah, so you don't care what network is on, you see just all tokens. So we as well going this direction, that you just see, okay, Ethereum on these networks, what we support, and you can just select on Arbitrum and you swap to something else on Base or something. This helps to onboard more people, and it could be like a blocker if you just still continue to differentiate between networks, because it's more complicated for the people.
What if you didn't have to chain switch? Like you just had like a multi-chain connected wallet?
Once again?
Like you didn't have to chain switch. Like every time you go to an app and like you want to do something from like this blockchain to this blockchain, you have to like switch your network. It's like one of the more annoying things.
A super RPC.
You're definitely the MetaMask user. If you would use one each wallet, you don't have to care about that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
But in Gearbox, we found another pretty interesting problem existing for the current industry, because we have two different, like to say, groups of builders. We have wallet builders. Wallet builders are very smart people who are great in UX, UI. They have pretty product-minded people who can build extremely good flow.
Thank you.
And we have a protocol builders, people who are good in math, in different boring stuff. But if you can find, it's like a pretty different. These guys who build wallets usually use MacBooks, iPhones, and protocol builders more like LaTeX, Linux, etc. Protocol builders could not really have expertise to attract users, and it's hard to attract users because you ask them to, hey, come to blockchain and we can solve a part of your task, like in Gearbox here. And at the same time, these wallet builders provide the way how people could interact. They build the future in the UX, but the fees from the protocols did not share with them. And it's a huge problem. People build better and better interfaces, and still, if you know about experience, when MetaMask asks their users to pay a small fee upon the swap fee, users say, hey, why we should pay extra? It's a blockchain. Yeah, it's hard to build a middleman. And in Gearbox, we try to build this credit card experience when the yield could be shared between protocol and wallets in fair way, because it's a fair game. It's like in our financial system, we have a front end in the banks, and individuals go to the bank to get an access to financial system. And banks, like if you use Revolut, has a very good interfaces inside. But behind that, there is so many backends, companies, insurances, etc. You never mind here. So basically, we should find the way how to fair and distribute this yield between protocol builders and wallets, and we try to integrate this way because wallets could make easier way to absorb new users, and protocols could focus on security, math, and things to really accomplish any request or intent or get what user wants. So I think we could find a fair way.
Maybe Vitalik will come with new proposal. So the Ethereum developer will get, smart contract developer who deploy the contracts will get something from each transaction fees. So maybe it's a good idea.
We're getting that feature?
Yeah, but in Gearbox, we can share some kind of profits nature away because Gearbox are building the integration with account abstraction, and it's very native. If you go with user, the user use credit account in your wallet, it's easily to share some parts which Gearbox take as a fee. So I think 1 inch maybe, but of course you have your own wallet, but maybe with other wallet integration.
Yeah, we don't charge fees.
Don't charge?
We don't charge fees. No fees. Yeah. It's a community project run by the non-profit organization 1 Inch Foundation. All the front ends. So there are no fees. There are no profits for the team, not for the project.
Okay.
Everything for people.
Yeah, so it sounds like the future is more collaboration, more profit sharing perhaps, and better UX is what's going to drive user retention and improved adoption. I think we're right up on time, so just want to thank all of our speakers and panelists. And yeah, appreciate you guys sharing your thoughts and wisdom today. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.